Hi, everybody. Josh here, the carpool guy with Juhi.
Hi, I'm Juhi.
Welcome to our webinar. We're going to get started in just a minute or two. You should see a poll about your activity within Waze Carpool, so please answer that poll before we get started. I'm going to mute us just for about 30 more seconds, and then we'll get started with our webinar today. Thank you for joining. Just a quick note to everybody who's joining. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. Thanks for being with us today. We have enabled the Q&A function within BigMarker, so we'd love to see your questions in the Q&A tab. If you see a chat tab, you shouldn't see a chat tab. Ignore that. Keep your questions in the Q&A, and we will be aggregating them throughout the webinar and then answering them as they come in after we get to our content. Thanks again for being here. We'll get started in just a few moments. All right, looks like we have a lot of drivers in the house today. Welcome, everyone. We have a lot of new folks as well. About half of you all so far have answered our poll, are new to Waze Carpool, so welcome. We're glad you're here and excited to answer your questions. We've got a lot of drivers in the house. We have just a few riders and a few people who are both rider and driver, which of course is always welcome with Waze Carpool. So please, if you haven't answered this poll yet, let us know if you're a driver, rider, or new to Waze Carpool. We're going to throw another poll at you real quick so we can get a sense of where everybody is coming from. So let's start polling on location. Where are you joining us from today? If you're in California, Washington, Texas, where we're live, let us know. If you're from somewhere else in the US or outside the US, we want to hear from you as well. So be sure to answer this poll. I'll give you guys just a few moments and then we'll get started.
Yeah, and hello from California.
Yes, obviously we are here at Waze in California, actually in San Francisco today. It's a little gray and foggy outside, so we don't have a view for you, but hopefully you can hear us well in this nice little comfy conference room. All right, the results are coming in quickly. Thanks for responding. We've got about half of the audience from California today, about 30% from Washington. Hello, Washington Wazers, our newest Waze Carpool users. We've got a few folks from Texas, a few folks from somewhere outside the US, and a little representation from outside the US, and a little bit more representation from inside the US, outside of our live states. So looks like a really good mix of people today. Excited that you're all here. Do we have any other polls before we get started? No, I think we're gonna throw another poll out mid-webinar, but
yeah, for now we're good.
For now we're good. Okay, let's get to the content. I'm going to close my camera just for a little bit so you all can see the slides a little larger. But please keep your questions coming into the Q&A as we're going. Juhi and others are going to help compile them, and then we're going to get to as many of them as we can in the hour that we have today.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Is your mic on?
Mic is on, yeah. Thanks for letting us know that you guys were having audio issues. I think we're back on in terms of audio. So I will start my spiel again. Somehow closing the camera also closed audio inadvertently. Sorry for that mix-up. All right, we're back. This beginning part is review for those of you who have used Waze Carpool before, or Waze itself. For those of you who are new, and there seems to be about half of the audience is new today, we feel that it's always helpful to start with our mission. So our mission at Waze is to outsmart traffic together. We want you to be that SUV on the highway up above rather than stuck in that mess down below. And so that's what Waze has been doing for almost 10 years now. And in the last couple of years, our mission has changed from outsmarting traffic to ending traffic altogether. That is the mission of Waze Carpool. We are here to make sure that everybody can get a smooth, safe, comfortable ride to work on an open road like you see here. This is a freeway in Southern California that, this was probably taken 20 or 30 years ago, but this is how we would like freeways to appear today. And so that's why we're all on this mission together. All right, so you're thinking, I got it, Josh. Tell me more about Waze Carpool. So for those of you who are new to Waze Carpool, here's a little bit of an intro. Our mission is to add a rider to every Waze driver. And that's a big feat. There are about 100 million monthly active Waze drivers around the world. And if we do our job well with Waze Carpool, we would love for some of those drivers to become riders, and for some folks who are new to the Waze experience to jump in with those Waze drivers and take some cars off the road. Waze Carpool connects drivers and passengers with similar destinations to commute together on the most optimal routes. So again, if you're new to us, this is our mission statement for Waze Carpool. If you've driven or ridden with us before, this is a little bit of review, but we are all about taking people who are already on the road and bringing them together with folks who need a ride and making the most of those seats in the vehicle, making the most of those assets that are just driving around without people in those seats. So what makes us unique? We know that there are other carpool services out there on the market. Let's talk a little bit about Waze Carpool in particular. Well, first and foremost, we have the largest community of drivers on the planet. So if you're building a marketplace of drivers and riders, you need drivers first and foremost. And with Waze, as I said, we have 100 million active drivers around the world every month. This allows us to bring them together with riders in a way that is really scalable and real time, and to find you the best driver for your riding experience, and again, to find the best riders for your driving experience. We have the best data on the planet. So Waze is now part of Google. If you weren't aware, we were acquired by Google, I think it was about 4 years ago. And we have the best maps, the best routing, the best ETA, estimated time of arrival functionality, navigation algorithms that you won't find anywhere else. And we have a lot of insights on how you commute. So if you join Waze Carpool and you're new to it and you've used Waze before, chances are we can suggest to you where we think your home and your work are and make your experience with Waze Carpool that much better. And finally, Waze is a brand that people know and love and trust, and has been around for a really long time. And when you're building a community of drivers and riders who are going to become a community of carpoolers, trust is really, really important. So we think that our brand, which has been helping people for about 10 years, will help them get comfortable with the carpool experience and the carpool, sort of the whole notion of what it is to carpool together. Just to be clear, for those of you who are new, Waze Carpool isn't like rideshare or taxis. So when you carpool with Waze, you are a regular Wazer. You're just somebody on the road as part of your normal commute. You're not a hired driver. You're not a taxi driver. You're not expected to detour too much from your normal commute. We also want you to know your co-pilot. So we give you tons of tools within Waze Carpool to vet the person that you're going to be driving or riding with ahead of time, which is very different from taxis or rideshare services. This gives you the opportunity to find the best carpooler for you. We're also making the most of drives that are already happening. So that means that we're not trying to add taxis or rideshare drivers to the road. We want people who are already on the road driving with Waze to take advantage of those drives and fill those cars with as many people as possible. We are sharing travel costs as a community. We're not earning an income. We get lots of questions about this. So this is really important. The money that you make as part of Waze Carpool is reimbursement for driving expenses. You're not earning an income with Waze Carpool. And finally, we'd love for you to score the front seat when you ride with Waze Carpool. This should be a really fun, comfortable experience. We've called our live event tour the front seat tour because we want to emphasize that you as a passenger, you're part of the community. You get that front seat just, as if you were riding to work with a friend. All right, so we get this too, Josh. Let's talk a little bit about why Washington. So Washington was the latest state that we launched in about mid-March. We had a wonderful launch with lots of partners and lots of press. And we're working with many folks in Washington to bring Waze Carpool there in a really meaningful way and turn a lot of their traffic and commute problems into a blissful Waze Carpool experience. So let me talk a little bit about why we chose Washington. First of all, we know that Washington has awful traffic, especially around the Seattle area. We've seen the rankings. Seattle commute times are some of the longest in the nation, and they've grown recently. We know also that Seattle and the surrounding areas are reaching what's called the period of maximum constraint. So that means that the roads are getting to the point where they just can't hold any more cars. And because of construction and delays and things that are happening, it's really important for us to help take cars off the road. So that's what we're doing right now with Waze Carpool in Washington, is trying to remove cars from the road and get people commuting together to avoid that awful traffic. Washington is also very tech savvy, and we've seen a lot of success with Carpool in places where people understand, how to use apps, how to use the sharing economy, how to take advantage of everything that a smartphone, the supercomputer in your pocket really enables you to do. And so we know we have a lot of friends in the tech space up in Washington, and we just know that the population is really, really happy to see technological solutions to these kinds of problems. So that was one of the big reasons why we chose Washington for our next Waze state. And finally, we know that there's a lot of existing carpool activity already. So there's a bit of a casual carpool community. So that's people jumping into cars sort of at pickup points on the side of the road. That also exists in the Bay Area, and we know that that was a big benefit for folks in the Bay Area. So it's one of the reasons we chose Washington. You can also see this carpool lane here, which is in this image, which is adding a lot of benefit to this commute. That's really important for where we go with carpool, and I'm going to show you some stats on why on how you can take advantage of the carpool lanes in the Washington area. So welcome again, Washington Wazers who are watching with us today.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! That's right. So yeah, so Waze Carpool, one of the biggest benefits aside from the friendly commute and the sort of camaraderie in the community and the money that you earn for reimbursement is the time savings. And we've started to gather some data, and we're going to start showing this in future webinars that highlight different areas. Today we're going to highlight Washington, but you really can save time with Waze Carpool by taking the HOV lane. So we've identified a few commutes that are common in the area, and we want to run through with you some of the time savings. This one from Everett, which is a popular suburb, to Bellevue, where a lot of folks work in the Seattle area, around 7 a.m., if you take the carpool lane at this time, it's a 26-minute savings, which is enormous. I mean, I don't know how you all value your time, but 26 minutes for me is worth a lot. So we really encourage folks to give us a try just for this, if not for the community and the money savings and being great for the planet and the environment. The time savings alone is pretty impressive. Here's another great example. So from Bellevue to Everett in the evening commute, so on the way home, you can save as much as 23 minutes if you leave at 5 p.m. and use the carpool lane. So essentially, if you have this Bellevue Everett commute and you're using Waze Carpool and taking the carpool lane, you're saving yourself about an hour a day. Imagine what you could do. Imagine the things that you could accomplish with that time back that you've saved by joining us on the roads in this mission to end traffic with Waze Carpool.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
It's quite astonishing.
Yeah.
I want that hour a day. I do a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
I probably play with my kids more. All right, so here's another example. Taking Waze Carpool from Bellevue into downtown Seattle. So in the morning, if you leave at 8:30, you can save about 8 minutes. This is not a long journey, but saving 8 minutes is pretty impactful on this commute into downtown Seattle from Bellevue.
Yeah, it's enough time to stop and get a coffee.
Exactly, for you and your rider. So share the love in those carpools, guys. And finally, from Issaquah to downtown Seattle, in the morning at about 8 a.m., using the carpool lane, according to our data, will save you about 13 minutes. Again, a pretty substantial time savings for a commute that shouldn't really be that long. So if this doesn't convince you to try to, get on the roads with Waze Carpool and give us a shot, let us know. Let us know what other things you'd like to see from a data perspective, and we'll try to compile that and get those numbers for you into the next Waze Carpool Talks webinar. The other thing is, if you're in another region where you'd like to see stats like this, let us know and we'll try to compile them and get them going for our next carpool webinar. Since obviously it looks like there's folks from all over today. Running through our poll again, we have Washington represented with about 30% of the audience, California represented with about half the audience, Texas has about 10% of the audience. And then outside of those 3 states in the US and outside the US is the remainder of our audience. So thank you all again for being with us. All right, so as we always do in Carpool Talks webinars, we'd like to give you a little product update. What's coming? What can you expect soon in the next few days and weeks as our product team continues to improve the Waze Carpool experience? So let's take you through that. The first is making the most of each ride, multiple passengers. We know that this is important to carpoolers. We heard from you loud and clear. We actually had multiple passengers as a capability before we launched our Carpool 2.0, our sort of new, refreshed redesign. And we scaled back into a single passenger experience just in order to simplify the launch. Well, multiple passengers is coming back really soon, and this is what it's going to look like. Drivers will be able to add as many carpool passengers to their car as they have seats, up to 4. So as a driver, you can tell us, I have 4 seats in my vehicle, or maybe you're only comfortable with 3 or 2 extra passengers. It's totally up to you. And then riders will be able to opt into carpools that are already happening and opt into multiple passenger carpools. This is also really important for some of the HOV and HOT lanes in different regions. So for example, here in the Bay Area, in order to get the benefit of the carpool lane coming over the Bay Bridge, you need 3 or more people in the vehicle. And so it's really important to get that multiple passenger carpool going, to get that time savings and that money savings for the bridge toll. So we know that you guys want this, and this is coming back soon.
And hopefully, I see that Javier Palma asked a question about this. So hopefully this answers your question and you'll find this helpful.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Javier. It's always great when we can answer questions before we even get to the Q&A period. So keep those questions coming, everybody. The next feature that we'd like to talk about is to improve communication. So we're giving you a sneak peek of our last seen indication. If you're familiar with messaging apps, this is a common feature that you've seen in many of the most popular messaging apps like WhatsApp, for example. And the way this works is we know that when you send offers as a rider or a driver, you're kind of often left wondering, did somebody see that? Do I need to check in with them? Do I need to chat with them? And so we're going to add this last seen indication in the communication flow, which basically you can see on the left and on the right, the opportunity to see were any of my offers seen, how many of them were seen, when exactly were they seen. So this will sort of, we think, reduce some of the anxiety that people feel when they throw offers into the wind and sort of just wait for those communications to come back. This will also allow you to understand very quickly if somebody that you may have offered is new to Waze Carpool and they're not really checking frequently. We know there are a lot of carpoolers that check the app quite frequently, and some folks that are new that just sort of aren't in the regular routine of checking the app frequently enough. So this should help you differentiate from those frequent carpoolers and those new carpoolers and adjust your plans accordingly. All right, so those are our 2 sneak peeks for today. We'll have more in the front seat tour events and the webinars that are yet to come. Now, how do you get involved? Well, if you've had a great carpool experience, we really want to know about it. We want to feature you in our outbound communications, on our social channels, and also we're doing some testimonials that could show up on our website. So if you've had a great carpool experience and you want to share that with us, maybe you met somebody from high school or junior high that you hadn't seen in a long time. Maybe you made a friend in the neighborhood or a friend at work that you hadn't known was close by. Any funny story, anecdote, something heartwarming, something sweet. We want to hear those experiences. So let us know. Either reach out to us here in the chat room and we'll get in touch with you, or you can reach out to myself or Arit or Juhi on social channels, and we'd love to capture that experience. Speaking of our social channels, here's a review of where you can find us. On Facebook, we're at Waze Carpool US. This is our Waze Carpool app page. We are on Instagram at Waze Carpool, and we are also on Twitter at Waze Carpool as well. I'm also on Twitter as Josh Freed, the Carpool Guy, so feel free to follow me. And I love Twitter. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, so let's have some one-on-one chats there if you want. You want to talk about our sticker challenge?
Yeah, of course. So some of you may already know about our sticker challenge, but if you have not gotten your 6 free stickers, highly encourage you to get those because they're super cute and you can put them wherever you want, whether it's your notebooks, laptops, skateboards, anywhere it's legal is what we like to say. So
stick them on your kids. I do that.
Yeah, there we go. That's another one. So yeah, feel free to go to the link and we'd love to see where you're sticking them. So make sure to tag us at Waze Carpool. and use the hashtag and spread the love.
Thanks, Juhi. All right. We also have a Facebook group. This is different from our Facebook app page. This is our public Facebook group called the Waze Carpool Community. And this is where folks go to talk about features, talk about problems they're having with the app, sort of brainstorm and talk to each other about what they're seeing out on the roads. So if you're really passionate about carpool, this is a great place for you to get involved with our community and keep the conversation going. We love to have these webinars and meetups, but we love to keep the conversation going on Facebook. And our product managers spend a lot of time in this community checking out comments, seeing what the sort of zeitgeist of the community is. So please spend some time there if you're passionate about carpool and you want us to know what you think. All right, so thanks a lot. That's all the content that we have from our slides today. We're going to turn the camera. There we are. Can everybody see us? Yay. Great. All right, let us also pull down. Let's see if I can end all right, there we go. So you should just be seeing us with my Waze Carpool t-shirt. And we're going to answer your questions. So let's keep this really conversational.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, we're going to start with a poll?
Yeah, let's start with a poll real quick. So just throwing that out there. If you've attended any of our events before, let's see.
The front seat tour. The second option, it should say Carpool Talks webinar. And then, or tell us if this is your first event. You can select multiple choices on this poll.
Great. Looks like we have some people from the front seat tour. So good to have you back.
Yep. Great to see you all again. And
a lot of first timers here. Welcome.
All right. Very exciting. Yeah. I'm glad to see more than half of you. This is your first carpool event. So as you can tell, you know, we feel like a family of carpoolers. We keep our events very casual, both our meetups and our webinars. You know, we love to show you who we are and how passionate we are about carpool. So, you know, please join us for as many of these as you can handle. Become part of the family and part of the community, and you know, we'll keep the conversation going, as we said, in between on Facebook and social and Twitter and things like that. So let's get to some questions. Yeah, Judy?
Yeah, for sure. All right. So thank you guys for your questions. These look great. One from Upendra. I have tried Waze Carpool based on my route. Lots of potential matches, but no takers. So no match that resulted in a carpool to save time. Sad face.
Well, Upendra, I'm not exactly sure where you are, but I hope you're in a region where we have enough carpool density. So in order to really make carpools work, we have to have a density of drivers and riders. So on the driver side, you know, we need people who are traveling and prefer to be using their car. On the rider side, we need people who are, you know, might not have a car or giving up their car. We also need density in terms of origin and destination. So we need folks who are near your home location, and we need folks who are near your work location. So the best thing that you can do in order to help us out is to refer your friends and colleagues. You might be in an area where we've launched Carpool recently and we're just building up that density. So it's important for you to refer your friends. And one thing that I didn't mention in our materials is we have an amazing referral bonus going on right now. So if you, Upendra, if you refer a driver, you and that driver get a $30 cash bonus, each of you. If you refer a rider, you get free rides for every new rider that you refer. So we think that those are going to be really, really impactful. So refer as many of your friends and colleagues as you can and rack up those $30 bonuses and free rides, and you should start to see more great matches in your neighborhood and on your route that are going to save you time.
Cool, thank you. Question from Mia. So I am an employer and I'm interested in promoting this to my employees. Do you have functionality for employers to see who from my company is using Waze?
Mia, that's a wonderful question. So we are really, really investing in employer relationships right now. So the first thing that I would do is go to our Carpool website and check out the Carpool for Coworkers tab. On that tab, you can actually see an employer leaderboard that shows you who are the top employers or top carpoolers by employer in your area. You can select from a drop-down menu and see in your local city, either at your home or your workplace, if it's two different cities, how many employers we have in that area. And the way that this works is really, it's quite cool. If you register in the app with your work email domain, so if Juhi or I register our @waze.com carpool domain, we automatically aggregate all those carpool domains into a score, into a mileage score for Waze as an employer. So we'd love for you all to make sure that you're registered in the app with your employer or your school domain. we realize that many of you are carpooling to and from school, and so that's also acceptable. So, if it's google.com, if it's ucla.edu, whatever it is, make sure that you register that address so we can log your trips and miles and show as an employer, how that employer is doing.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about how to get free rides for a month for your company, feel free to shoot us an email at employers@waze.com.
That's a wonderful reminder. Employers@waze.com is the email address that we're using to log interest. So if you know that your company would be interested in getting free rides, shoot us a note and let us know, and someone from our employers team will reach out to you and try to schedule a call to get our employer promotion program going.
Yeah, thank you. All right, question from Daria. Please allow at least 3 drives a day instead of 2. I can have a meeting or stop on the way to work and cannot continue carpooling afterwards.
That's a great request. Yeah, Daria, thank you for that. The reason that we've kept it at 2 a day right now is because we're really only interested in making sure that this service functions as a way for people to get to and from work and keeps you out of that professional driver category. 3, we could definitely look at 3 as a limit, and I'll talk to the product team about that and make sure that we address your concern. But we've sort of capped it at 2 rides a day to ensure that people aren't going above that reimbursement limit set by the IRS in terms of money that they can earn from a carpool experience. 3, I agree with you. Maybe you want to take a carpool from your workplace to the gym and then from the gym home. That definitely wouldn't put you above the reimbursement limits set by the IRS. We're just trying to ensure that people aren't taking advantage and doing, 10, 20 rides a day, or drives a day, which would put them into a different category. On the rider side, I should say there is no limit. So you can get as many carpool rides a day as you'd like. So Daria, I would try to get, maybe turn yourself into a rider for a day and see if you can get 3 rides and if that would work for you. But we'll definitely take a look at it from the driver's side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Question from Amy. Do you guarantee a ride home?
Hey, Amy, thanks for that question. So today we don't have a bespoke or a Waze Carpool specific guaranteed ride home program. But what we have learned is from working with many jurisdictions, municipalities, cities, and employers, many of them do already have guaranteed ride home programs. So first thing I would do is I would encourage you to check with your employer or with your city or county. And if you take something like an alternative transit method to work, like a Waze Carpool or a bike or the train or the bus, it's quite possible that your county, your city, or your employer does have a guaranteed ride home program that will enable you to get home if you get stuck. So while it's not a feature or function of Waze Carpool today, it is something that we're looking at. But what we found is that most drivers and riders, depending on where they live, are already covered by some such safety net. And so we encourage them to use that if they can't get a Waze Carpool ride home.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in Southern California too, I know that we have some good promos going on there for rides home. So in Burbank and Irvine and San Diego, we have $2 rides. So try to be on the lookout for those if you're in Southern California. And
Amy, reach out to us if you're in a region that you don't think you have a guaranteed ride home. Let us look into that for you. Maybe there's something we can do to figure out your situation in particular.
Cool. Question from Prashant. If I have friends in the neighborhood, how do I add them to my ride and vice versa? We are doing the same process, but via messages currently.
So if you have friends in the neighborhood that are on Waze Carpool and are on your route, they should show up in your list. So we didn't dive through specific screenshots in the app today, but the way that it works is based on your home and your workplace and the number of and the people around you, you see a list of carpool riders and drivers when you open the app. So your friends, if they have a similar enough commute as designated by our algorithms, you will see them in your list, and then you should be able to specifically choose them, offer them a ride, or offer them a drive. If you're seeing an issue where you know that your friends are on Waze Carpool, they've onboarded, they're in your neighborhood or they're near your workplace, and you're not seeing them in the app, definitely shoot us a note because there could be a bug. We've had some instances of folks not being able to see either coworkers or neighbors that they should see in their list. And so that might be a bug specific to your situation. And we are definitely churning through those bugs and looking at them on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and for submitting feedback in the app, just go to settings, feedback, and try to describe the issue, and we'll take a look at it.
All right, thanks for that question.
Question from Amanda. Could there be a way to still give a wider range in when I want to be picked up, but note that I prefer earlier or later times? This way the drivers who also prefer earlier times will have me show up higher.
That's an interesting question. So you'd like to keep your windows large, but sort of designate a preference. I think the best way, I don't know that we can support that use case. It's a great idea. I don't know that we can support that use case the way that we're set up today. You may be able to message, I would suggest messaging the people that you've sent ride requests to and letting them know just in a quick note, hey, my window is large, but I prefer to be picked up or dropped off in this little, piece of that window.
Yeah.
We give you a lot of tools to communicate with your potential drivers and riders before, during, or after the ride. So we have in-app messaging and phone call functionality where you don't have to share your own personal phone number. It's a proxy phone number. So I would try to offer or request rides and then sort of give a little quick messaging note on those offers that says, like, here's the period of time where I would prefer to be picked up. But we applaud you for keeping your windows open. Keeping those windows broad and wide is really great, and that allows you to match with more potential drivers and riders in your neighborhood.
And by the way, Amanda, that's what I do too. I ride with Waze Carpool, and so usually I know that it asks the driver, or it'll ask me sometimes to pick a time, but I'll just message the driver and say, like, what time would you prefer? So yeah, just try messaging them.
Great idea.
Question from Carlvin. Hi guys, thank you again for setting this up. From the data you're gathering and the performance you're seeing, what would you say are the next stages to leverage Waze Carpool?
States. Oh, the next states, yeah.
To leverage Waze Carpool in 2018.
That's a great question. Let's see. I wish that I had news to share and we could do breaking news on this webinar today, but we don't have breaking news today. So we're really focused on Washington, our newest state, California, and Texas, and there's a lot of what I like to say meat left on the bone, right? There's a lot of potential carpoolers that we can still get into our platform in those 3 states. So nothing to announce today. We are looking across the US. I will say that, we would love to be, Waze is obviously available nationwide, and we would love to have Waze Carpool available nationwide very, very soon. But we want to make sure that it works really, really well for the communities that we've already launched in before we go any further. So right now it's Israel, California, Washington, and Texas. And if we have news to share on new states, if you follow us on our social channels or attend these events, you'll find out before anybody else.
Cool, thank you. Question from Malcolm. Are there plans to start another carpool beta program?
That's a great question. So if we do have a Waze Carpool beta program that is available right now, where you get, I think we're just open to Google employees at the moment, where they're getting versions of our app about a week before public versions of the app. So I'm not sure if this person is a Googler or a Wazer who works here, who wants to be involved in our programs. If you're not and you want to be involved in our beta community, reach out to us directly and we'll see what we can do. The best place to really have those sort of beta conversations is our Waze Carpool Facebook community. So I mentioned this in our slides in the beginning. We have a very active Facebook community with, I think, over 1,000 members, where features and functionality is being discussed in very, very rigid detail, or rigorous detail. And our product managers are chiming in and answering those questions. So that Carpool community almost functions as a beta program. And so right now, while we're using our Google employees as beta sort of testers, I would say that the Facebook community is the best place to get involved. So reach out to us directly, and I'm not sure, if we can get you into our beta program, but if you're a Googler or a Wazer, we'll try to make that happen.
Yeah, we do actually have a beta program too for non-Googlers too. So yeah, just let us know if you're interested, and we can make that happen.
Great.
Question from Alan. Can you please clarify the referral bonus for SoCal? I referred a coworker. We've Waze Carpooled several times together with him as a rider. He got a first ride free, but I got no bonus. Is this correct?
So yeah, if you,
So I think for SoCal, I think you're referring to the promo we have right now. So that's $2 rides. It's a flat fee for riders. But if you're talking about the referral bonus, that would happen through the app using a promo code.
Yeah. So if the person, it's a coworker, if the coworker that you referred entered the promo code when they onboarded, then they should be getting free rides from that promo code, and you should also be getting a free ride the first time that they carpooled. It's possible that they're getting free rides or discounted rides as part of another promotion. So check with them and make sure that they entered the promo code when they onboarded. And that's really key to tracking the referral bonus and making sure that you get it and they get it.
Cool. Thank you. Question from Joel, or comment. I'd love to see the stats for Texas.
Yeah, so in terms of HOV lanes and time savings, we'll try to pull some of those together for our next carpool webinar, which is happening, I think, in mid-May. So Texas is definitely, we're turning a lot of attention to Texas now and Washington as well. So we'll try to get some of those HOV stats for Joel and for all of our Texas users at the next webinar.
Mm-hmm. Question from Steve. As a driver...
Oh, we know Steve. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
As a driver, I am noting that many individuals with low or no rides continually showing up to be chosen. They have never accepted my offers or possibly not active. If possible, after some X number of offers or inactivity, can these individuals be removed from my optics as a driver?
Yeah, so I know that this is an issue for some of the areas where we've been operating Carpool for a long time. We have some users on there that aren't regular users or aren't active users today. First of all, we're going to try to make those users active users. So we're sending them push notifications and emails and reminding them that Waze Carpool is here and that we've come out with a new version that's even better. So trust us that we're doing our best to make those inactive users become active again. The second thing I would say is if you're seeing people repeatedly that are just not going to answer your messages, you can block them individually so that they don't show up in your list. But if you don't want to block people, if you're not comfortable with that, rest assured that our product managers are tweaking the algorithms to show folks that are more active more regularly. So you'll start to see folks that are, as we showed you in the slides, responding to communications or looking at their communications. They're going to start to sort of edge up on your lists. And the folks who are not responding or sort of, just not really present in the app as much as we'd like them to be, they will start sort of descending down on your list and showing up farther down your list. So the algorithms need to be tweaked a little bit for that to happen. That is happening. And if it's not happening quickly enough for you, let us know and we'll make sure that feedback gets to the product managers.
Cool. We have a question from McKinsey. How are you guys different from other companies and competitors?
Yeah, so I covered this a little bit in the slides in the beginning. So number one, Waze has been around for 10 years. There's a lot of upstarts in the carpool space that are trying to make this happen. But Waze is a community, a large community, a trusted community that's been around for about 10 years. So that's the 100 million drivers around the world. There's no other community of drivers that really matches this. So I would say that that's our first big differentiator. Our second is our data. So we're part of Google Maps, and Waze again has a lot of great routing and algorithmic driving data. So if you're using us to commute, you're going to get the best possible route to work and home. There's just no bones about that. We've been doing this for a very long time. You get a real live traffic view of what's on the roads at any given time. And when you're using Waze Carpool, you're also using the best technology of Waze. So it's really going to get you to work and to home fastest and safest. And finally, the brand, people are familiar with Waze. It's something that we know that resonates really with a lot of people. So we know that we think that Waze Carpool, as an extension of our Waze brand, will make people feel really comfortable with joining this new community and jumping on board a carpool platform. Everybody else who's trying to do this carpool sort of construct where you're doing, not professional drives, 54 cents a mile reimbursement type drives. We're all sort of following the same business model. So from that standpoint, Scoop and some of the others out there, they're not engaging with professional drivers the way that Uber and Lyft and other taxi companies are. So from that perspective, we are similar. But we think that there are some very, very unique differences with Waze Carpool. And our features, some of the things that we've showed you today are very different from the other carpool services out there. For example, you can request a ride with Waze Carpool at any time. You can offer a drive with Waze Carpool at any time. There's no time limits. There's no deadlines. If you need a ride, this afternoon, there's no cutoff time by which you need to register or request that carpool. So we encourage you to explore Waze Carpool and let us know what you think. And if you see things in other apps that you'd like us to do, please let us know. We're very open to that, and we're releasing new sort of updated versions of the app all the time.
Yeah, I see some recommendations like that we'll get to later too. Question from Malcolm. At the last Front Seat Tour, you mentioned an upcoming feature which would allow riders to manually send requests to their preferred or frequent drivers, independent of the list suggestions. Is this still planned, and will the driver app have a similar function?
Yeah, this is definitely still planned. So this is basically sort of your preferred or favorite drivers or riders, which is functionality that, again, we did have a version of that in the previous Carpool 1.0 world. In Carpool 2.0, in our new version, it's something that we scaled back a little bit because the interaction model is different, but it is coming back. So things that you've seen, things that we've showed you in either the front seat tour, meetup events, or these webinars are definitely coming. So just because you didn't see it in my slides today doesn't mean that it's not happening. It is absolutely happening and coming soon.
All right, question from Amy. Does the Everett to Bellevue count 2 or 3 carpoolers in the time saved data?
So the data that we showed was whatever on that particular route, whatever that carpool lane requirement is, that is the time savings data that we showed. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, I'm not sure that there are 2 different carpool lanes on that route. If there are 2 different carpool lanes on that route, that's something that I wasn't aware of. But I think what you're asking is the time savings based on the number of people in the car, or is that just overall time savings? The data that we showed previously was one car taking that route in the carpool lane or the high occupancy vehicle lane on that route, how much time that car would save. So that's not a per person time savings, it's a per vehicle time savings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Caroline is asking, she says, I do CTR programs for an employer. Are there programs you do to help us launch with our employees?
Yes, Caroline, thank you for the question. We love working with ETCs on commuter reduction or transit, reduction programs. Reach out to us at employers@waze.com. We have a dedicated email address, employers@waze.com, and we will get in touch with you about doing a commuter benefit program for your employees through Waze Carpool.
Also, if any of you are reaching out to us at employers@waze.com, please make sure that you mention that you came because of the webinar. We'd love to see that it's actually working and that you guys are finding this helpful.
Yeah. So Caroline will take down your name and make sure that happens, but send us an email there anyway.
Yeah. All right. Question from Prashant. Is there a link to send to new Wazers?
Is there a link to send to new Wazers?
So the referral?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that if you go into the app as a driver or a rider and you click on sort of the refer a friend or share Waze Carpool features, there's a coupon code that lives in that area, as well as I believe links that you can send to them directly that get them to our iOS and Android app stores directly without having to search for us in the app stores.
Comment from Upendra. So he is asking, on the other hand, with a different carpool app, I successfully was paired with a carpooler that resulted in tremendous time savings. Why can't we get those other best features incorporated to Waze?
So I'm not sure exactly which features you're talking about, Upendra. Perhaps you should join us in the Waze Carpool Facebook community, and we can talk about specific features that you think are helping you save time that you're not seeing in Waze Carpool. But we've heard from a lot of folks that have found very regular Waze Carpool partners, either on the driver or rider side, that they've created these little micro communities that they're able to get a carpool ride every day, and it's saving them a lot of time. So let's figure out, number one, where you are and if there's enough density in your area. Number two, let's get some referrals going from you or your friends so that we build up density in those areas. And then number three, let's talk about the features that you're seeing that you think are saving you a little more time than you would be saving with Waze Carpool. I'm really interested to hear specifically on those.
Mm-hmm. Question from Mia. It looks like you have 2 different apps separating drivers and riders. Do you plan to incorporate these into one app?
Yeah, so that's true, Mia. We have the original Waze app, which has been around for about 10 years. That's where drivers interact with us. That's where the whole driver experience lives. And that makes the most sense because you're using Waze Carpool to navigate. We have a separate app called Waze Carpool, which is just for the rider side and where you don't need all the heavy navigation features of Waze in that app. So you could be somebody that's never used Waze before, you don't even own a car, but you download the Waze Carpool app and you just use it to get rides as a rider. What we have done with Waze, the new Waze Carpool experience, is make those 2 experiences look and feel very similar. So from a driver and a rider perspective, the UI or the UX appears to be very similar, and there's a toggle at the top of the screen where you can very easily switch back from the rider to the driver side of the experience. It's a similar toggle that you'd see in like a Facebook or Facebook Messenger world where they have 2 apps for 2 different functions. So we are trying to unify that experience and make the driver side and the rider side feel comfortable and similar for both sides. So, I think you see us sort of making a lot of strides to unify the experience, and someday potentially we'll have the whole experience in one app or another. But today, if you want to be a rider and a driver, yes, you still do need 2 apps.
All right, question from Mackenzie. If I'm a driver, but the time I leave for work each day varies, will I still be able to find riders?
Absolutely. So the way that Waze Carpool works is you can completely customize your commute for every day of the week and for your home to work commute and your work to home commutes in each and every day. So we think about your week in terms of like 10 different commute segments, and each one of those segments you can fully customize. And you can also customize locations. So we remember the last few locations that you've commuted from. So if you have different workplaces, you can set up each day of the week to have different workplaces and different times. Very customizable. What we found is that commute patterns that rely on one driver and one rider using the same route and using the same time every day, they break very easily. There's just not enough flexibility in that kind of a carpool scenario to help in today's busy hustle and bustle. So our carpool platform is very, very flexible. You can set up every day and every commute each day to your own liking and with your own preferences.
I see a couple of you, I see Amanda and Marta have asked about a couple bugs that you're experiencing with the app. I would say in this situation, if you're ever encountering any bugs, I would highly recommend going to settings and feedback and telling us what the issue is so we can get on that ASAP.
Yeah, there's also a dedicated email address that you can send if you're sitting at your computer, you don't want to take out your phone and open the app. You can send an email to carpoolhelp at Google. Is it at Google? I believe so. Yeah, I think it's carpoolhelp@google.com, which is our dedicated support email. Again, if you're an employer or if you work at an employer that wants to bring Waze Carpool to your workplace, that's employers@waze.com. So we have employers@waze.com, carpoolhelp@google.com. Those are our two main ways to reach out to us via email if you want to just shoot us an email rather than opening the app.
Yep. All right, a question from Tam. I work for a large employer. While many Seattleites are tech savvy, a lot of my customers are entry-level employees who are working swing, night, and variable shifts, and they have challenges accessing and using apps like Waze. They're desperate for commuting options, and they have a few, if any, transit options. Their shifts make it difficult to find traditional rideshare partners, and parking is very expensive. What is your strategy to reach out and engage these commuters?
Yeah, Tam, that's a great question, and I appreciate you joining us today. We are actually reaching out to very large employers that have employees that sound very much like the ones you described. So I'm not going to name any employers in the webinar today, but we are very, very actively reaching out to all kinds of employers, including the ones like this where there are night shifts or people aren't able to use their phones while they're at the workplace. And we're trying to design programs that meet the needs of these specific employers. So definitely, if you have an employer in mind like this, and you know somebody that manages transportation for them, introduce them to us or introduce them to me. Again, employers@waze.com. And we are trying to, again, build sort of incentive programs and structures that make sense for these individual employers and their specific needs. Because we realize not all employers are desk employees who are sitting behind computers all day and who have their phones accessible and can schedule carpools throughout the day. So we hear you, and we're very much trying to work towards solutions for those employers as well. Hospitals is a great example. I've worked with many hospitals in the Bay Area and in Southern California where people are working very rigid shifts and don't have access to their phones, but do want a commute to work that is safe, reliable, cheap, good for the environment, and we're trying to work with them to make that happen.
We have a recommendation from Upendra. He is asking if we can have, by say like a certain time of each day, if we can have a guaranteed ride home if the optional matching doesn't work.
Yeah, so I hear you, and I think you're referring to another app on the marketplace that has sort of a cutoff time, and it sort of lets you know that you have something booked by a certain time each day. Our model is a little bit different, and I encourage you to use whatever carpool services work for you. You can use us and another app if you'd like. That's totally fine. We're all trying to make the world a better place through carpool. But that specific feature, like a cutoff point that lets you know when you have a carpool booked, would be hard for us to implement and still give people the flexibility to schedule a carpool 30 minutes or 20 minutes in advance of when they need one. And we've heard from a lot of folks that they really enjoy and really appreciate the flexibility of, my plans changed. I need a carpool now. I'm going to go into the app and ping a rider or driver and let them know and see if I can get a ride through Waze Carpool. So I hear you. It's something that I think we will continue to consider, but there is a trade-off there. And right now we're comfortable with the trade-off that we're making, which is flexibility for all of our users.
Question from Dale. Can I customize in real time?
So Dale, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to customize, but let's assume for a minute that you're talking about like a pickup point. Let's say you have a carpool drive set with a rider or a driver, and you want to change the pickup point in real time. That is something that you are able to do. So we allow you to chat or communicate with your carpool partner and pick a new place on the map. So give that a shot. Let us know if that's not working for you. If it's something else that you're referring to about customizing in real time, maybe I didn't understand your question, shoot us a note or get us in the Facebook community, and we'll try to answer that question better for you.
Yeah, and if it's a thing like editing your pickup point or something, you can edit this before you actually approve the ride. So feel free, like while you're requesting the ride, to play around with the map. You can drag and change your pickup location.
Yeah, so just to be clear, once your ride is set with a driver or rider, we don't give you the functionality to change the pickup point, but you can communicate directly through messaging with your driver or rider and agree on another pickup point. And so that would still, in my mind, be considered real time.
Yeah. All right, one more question from Mackenzie. Can you remind me how to find the employer leaderboard that you mentioned?
Sure, yeah, Mackenzie, the leaderboard, if you go to waze.com/carpool, there's a tab at the top of our website that says Carpool for Coworkers. If you click on Carpool for Coworkers, that takes you to our employer-focused page, and there you'll find the leaderboard where you can drop down and look at, on a city basis, which employers are carpooling with us and which ones have the most carpools by miles. So we aggregate all the riders and drivers who have registered their email domains with us and lump them together into an employer leaderboard that shows carpool activity by employer. So we really want to create that sense of like, hey, my employer is on the leaderboard, but maybe they're not in the #1 spot. Let me work with my company or my friends or my colleagues to get more of us carpooling and to climb those spots.
Yeah, so this is just more incentive for you to make sure that your work email is verified so these miles actually count and you can actually see the impact you're making.
Yeah, and registering your work or school email also allows you to sort your carpool experience by other folks that are at your workplace or your school. So one of the great new features of Waze Carpool is there's a little checkbox that says, I want to carpool only with coworkers. And in order for us to sort your list by coworkers, they have to register their work or school domain with us. So if you want to only ride, remember to tell your friends and colleagues and coworkers and classmates to register their work or school domains so we can give you this advanced functionality and also track your carpooling and shoot your employer or your school up the leaderboard.
All right, looks like we covered all the questions there.
All right.
Just a reminder, I know that we mentioned a lot of links here, the carpool help one, the employers, and also like the sticker link, for example. Just letting you know that we will be sending a follow-up email, and we'll make sure to include all those links so you can get back to us. And feel free to reply directly to the email. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you for all your live questions. We're doing this about every 6 weeks, and if the demand is there and you guys want us to do this more often, let us know. It's pretty easy for us to set up webinars, and we can get them going more often if that's helpful. Thank you for joining us today. We're ending about 7 minutes early, but that should give you time to grab a coffee and get back to work or school or whatever it was you were doing. Very much appreciate having you with us today. We'll see you guys in the carpool lane.
Thank you.